lot of people ask me what role did the United States play in Colombia's internal conflict. So let's talk about that. So back in the year 2000, an aid package was approved for Colombia, and it was called Plan Colombia. This aid package consisted of $1.7 billion coming from the U.S. to Colombia, 80% of which was destined for military purposes, and the remaining 20% was for social and economic aid. The whole basis behind Plan Colombia was to reduce the amount of coca plantations and the amount of that was exported to the United States from Colombia. Before we get into the details of Plan Colombia, it's important to note that the decision to receive all of this aid from the United States was not passed through Colombian Parliament. It was a decision made by the Colombian Department of State and the executive branch. What was the first thing the United States started doing? Was manufacturing Black Hawk helicopters for Colombia. The United States took hundreds of millions of dollars from Plan Colombia and gave it to the American weapons manufacturing company called Sikorsky. Sikorsky, you could look it up, it's now a subsidiary of Lockheed Martin. Basically, the United States was putting that money back into the pocket of the U.S. military-industrial complex. They were spraying glyphosate over the mountains in the Colombian countryside where there was coca plantations. Before we talk about what glyphosate is, where is it made, and who is it made by? It was made by Monsanto, the American agrochemical company that manufactures this poison. Glyphosate is a herbicide that is widely used and has been widely used for a long time in agriculture. And in a lot of the corn, wheat, and soy that is in many of the products that we eat, there's glyphosate present. We get glyphosate in our food, it's in trace amounts. What was happening with these campesinos is that they were getting sprayed directly with huge amounts of glyphosate. So what did this do? It created severe skin rashes. It contaminated their drinking water, which gave them stomach issues like diarrhea and vomiting. Some even reported to feel sick, like having fever and flu-like symptoms. It made the soil infertile. This killed not only the coca plantations, but all nearby crops, including plantain, yuca, fruits, and farm animals. These campesinos were added to the millions of internally displaced refugees due to the armed conflict in Colombia. The U.S. also used the money from Plan Colombia to hire mercenaries. These mercenaries were from a private military contractor company called DynCorp, which was based in the U.S. state of Virginia. So what were these mercenaries responsible for doing? They were responsible for manning the Black Hawk helicopters that were made by an American company spraying an American-made agrochemical. So you see how it was all a circular deal. They were also involved in military operations against the communist rebel groups here in Colombia, which we know as guerrilla. But because the U.S. used private mercenaries and there was no U.S. troops on the ground in Colombia, the U.S. could basically keep this war. It was now involving itself in a secret. I don't want to blame all of Colombia's problems on the U.S., but we also must recognize the role that the U.S. has played. Anyways, guys, hope you enjoyed that. Hope you learned something new, and I'll see you guys in another video.